Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. A couple weeks back, I did a video about collecting on a budget, where I talked about 10 NES games that you can buy for under $100 total on eBay. And I had some people in the comment section saying that they'd like to see another. Well, roll that intro. So yeah, since you guys wanted to see another 10 NES budget titles, I got on the good old eBay and found another 10 games that you can buy for under $100 total to kickstart your NES collection. So let's get into the list.
Number 10, Dino Wars. Dino Wars is a side-scrolling platformer. Now I'm going to be completely honest. This is probably the worst game on the list, but the idea of the game is pretty decent. You play as either Professor Protus, who wears a battle suit, or you play as Cybersaurus, a robotic dinosaur. So the goal of the game is to travel to planets and get the artificial intelligence compound from each planet. The platforming is a little wonky. It's not perfect, but the game does have good cutscene graphics. Each level has a boss battle at the end, which you fight different dino mechs. The game is okay. It's not great, but it does have solid cutscenes, and I like playing as the Cybersaurus. The game is only around $7 shipped, so if you don't like it, at least it's not breaking the bank. Number 9, Double Dragon 2: The Revenge. Double Dragon 2 is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that came out for the NES in 1989. It is the second Double Dragon game for the NES and was published in North America by Acclaim Entertainment. You control Billy and Jimmy Lee, who are on a mission to avenge the death of Billy's girlfriend Marion after she's killed during an attack by the Shadow Warriors gang. The game contains 9 stages and 3 different difficulty levels. Only by choosing the hardest level can the player play all 9 stages to see the true ending of the game. The game is a bona fide classic for the NES. It's arguably one of the best beat-em-ups for the platform. I have a lot of memories playing this with my uncle in his basement back in the 1990s. This game was very popular. It sold over 1 million copies right after release. Plus, it's under $10 shipped for a copy on eBay, so you have no excuse to not grab a buddy and have a blast. Number 8, Demon Sword. You play as a guy named Victor who has a special sword that can only kill the demon who rules over the world that you live in. But only one problem. The demon broke apart the sword into 3 different worlds. So you must travel to these worlds and find all the pieces so you can put it back together and defeat the demon yourself. Each world has 2 different areas to complete before fighting the stage boss and retrieving the piece. As you collect pieces, the sword itself gets stronger and stronger with each piece added. Plus, you have other attacks to fight the enemies with, like magic spells, darts, and power beams. You have good control over your character in the game. It's a decent game. The side-scrolling action is pretty good. It's not a perfect game, but for the $7 price tag, it's definitely worth checking out. Number 7, Dragon Spirit. This game is a vertical shooter, kind of like 1942 and 1943. You take control of a fire-breathing dragon who flies around trying to make your way through the levels. You can either pick a gold dragon, which is essentially the easy mode, or a blue dragon, which is the normal difficulty mode. They also have different attributes. For instance, the gold dragon is much faster than the blue dragon, which in turn makes the normal difficulty much harder to beat. Over the last couple years, this game has been discovered and showed up on a lot of people's hidden gems list. So even though it's gaining in popularity, you can still buy it right now for under $10. So what are you waiting for? Number 6, Gradius. This game is an arcade game that was ported to the NES way back in 1986. It was the first released Konami game for the NES. You control a spaceship called Vic Viper, and you must battle waves of enemies through different levels. As you play, you gain power-ups for your ship that will help because this game is tough. The stage bosses are great in this game. A lot of people argue about which game is better, Gradius or Life Force. I personally like Life Force, but this game is still a super solid shooter that came out early into the NES lifespan. It's revered today as one of the best shooters on the platform for a reason, and you can use the Konami code on it. So for under 12 bucks, just give it a shot. Number 5, Guerrilla War. Guerrilla War is a pretty fun co-op isometric shooter for the NES. You play as 2 unnamed rebel commandos. But the weird thing is in the Japanese version, you actually play as Che Guevara and Fidel Castro. I'm not kidding. Anyways, you battle through different levels trying to vanquish hordes of enemy soldiers while attempting to rescue hostages, while collecting weapons from troopers and operating tanks. Most people love this game. It's revered on the Nintendo. I think it's fun. You get to use guns and put the smack down on enemies in the game. The co-op feature is the ideal way to play this game. The unlimited continues and frantic gameplay make this one of the best co-op games on the system. So for 11 bucks, you can't afford not to give it a try. So grab an M16, a pocket full of grenades, and let's do this thing. Number 4, Iron Tank. Set during the invasion of Normandy, the player takes control of a commando named Paul and codenamed Snake as he mans the Iron Tank to infiltrate the German stronghold. You use your tank to fight various enemies that include soldiers, officers, tanks with various types of weaponry, and fixed guns mounted on them. In addition, the player will have the opportunity to rescue captured soldiers, which some will give your player intel, and will have to navigate various other obstacles and enemies such as armored trains, submarines, gunboats, and landmines. This is a pretty decent single player game. Plus, at only 8 bucks, I'd give it a go because these types of games are pretty addicting. Number 3, POW, Prisoners of War. This game takes place during the Cold War, where the player controls a military prisoner who breaks free from his cell to relentlessly fight his way into the main base in order to eliminate the leader and escape that island. This game is pretty basic. You go right and you beat the crap out of everything on the screen. It's honestly a really fun game, but if it had co-op play, I think it would have been really good. The arcade version has it, but the NES version didn't. I'm assuming because of the limitations on the NES. But I would check this one out. 9 bucks gets you some side-scrolling, hand-to-hand ass-kicking, and I think that's worth it. Number 2, Phantom Fighter. You play as some random kung fu master who fights through 8 towns filled with some kind of Chinese vampires. I know, it sounds crazy, but each level has a unique boss, which I thought was awesome. After you conquer all 8 towns, you will finally fight the last boss of the game, which is an evil witch. You can use a bunch of kung fu moves and different items to complete the game. An infinite amount of continues are available to complete the game also, so you can beat it pretty easily. Plus, I included it because I think the game is pretty fun to play in my opinion. It's no masterpiece by any means, but for 12 bucks, I don't see a reason not to add it to your collection. As a fan of kung fu movies and games, this one was one that I actually rented a couple times back in the day. Number 1, Rygar. You play through a number of fantastic settings with the ultimate goal of defeating the evil King Rygar in order to restore peace to the realm of Argol. To beat the game, you must visit 5 Endora gods who present you with essential items needed to beat the game. This game is kind of open-ended, meaning you can play any level you want at any time, but some levels have areas that you cannot reach unless you have already gotten an item beforehand, kind of like Zelda. The game is fun, and it's a good game I think, but the reason this game is criticized so much nowadays is because it released without any backup battery save or a password system. It did have unlimited continues, but having to beat it in one sitting is brutal because this game is pretty tough and long, and it's not the easiest to complete. But I figure for 11 bucks, it deserves to be beaten, and you can still afford lunch afterwards.
Well, there you go. Another 10 games you can buy on eBay for under $100 total to kickstart your NES collection. If you have any memories of the games I talked about in the video, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep it retro.